Hi children, it's the most wonderful time of year. At the Creative Writing Institute, we are doing storytelling, especially to get you ready for bed. And tonight we are going to read Beauty and the Beast, a classic, of course. And I always like to show off that these are books that I would have had since I was 5 years old, and I still have them. So we are going to read this classic story, Beauty and the Beast. There was once a poor merchant who had once been quite wealthy. He had 6 daughters. 5 of them were mean and selfish, but the youngest was so sweet and so lovely that she was called Beauty. Beauty did the housework while her lazy sisters slept and complained most of the time. One day the merchant received a message that at long last one of his ships had come to port with all sorts of riches. The older daughters asked him to hurry and bring them clothes and jewels, but Beauty asked for one thing. She asked for a single rose and her father's safe return. The father kissed his daughters and set out with high hopes. The merchant journeyed for a day and a half. When he reached the port, he had learned that his ship had been sunk by pirates. Sadly, he started for home with no gifts for his daughters. All of a sudden, a terrible storm arose, and he lost his way in the forest. And finally, cold and hungry, he saw a large castle in the clearing. It seemed to be the home of very wealthy people. Warily, he stumbled upon the path. No one seemed to be at home, so the tired merchant went in. He found a fire blazing in the fireplace and a long table set with wonderful dishes, all ready to be eaten. There were fruits, cakes, meats. After eating, he felt sleepy, and still hearing or seeing no one, he found a comfortable bedroom where he undressed and fell asleep. In the morning, when the merchant awakened, he dressed and walked out into the garden castle. The flowers were magnificent, and a beautiful rose bush reminded him of Beauty's wish. He decided to take her flower even though he had no other gifts to carry home. Just as he broke off a lovely red rose, he heard a noise and looked up. He was staring into the face of the ugliest man he had ever seen, a man with the face of a beast. "You are indeed ungrateful," shouted the beast. "You did not find food and shelter here, and yet you repay me by taking a prized rose?" "Forgive me," pleaded the merchant. "I will repay you in any way I can." "Then send one of your daughters to keep house for me, or you shall die," said the beast. "Now take these things and go." The frightened merchant thanked the beasts for the gifts, got on his horse and rode away. All the way home, he was worried about how he would tell his daughters about this situation. He knew he had to die because he could not send any of them to live in that castle. When he arrived home and told his story, immediately Beauty offered to go. At first, Beauty was quite frightened by the ugly man who was the master of the castle, but he treated her very kindly. He arranged for her to have a beautiful room overlooking the garden and lovely clothes to wear. He tried to stay out of her way and did not want her to be afraid. But one day, while Beauty was in the garden, he told her he had grown to love her and wished that they would be married. And Beauty answered gently that she thought he was very kind, but she could not marry him because her father needed her. She had learned from her magic mirror that her father was very ill, and she wanted to go to him at once. The beast gave her a special ring that would help her get home safely and quickly, and then to return. "For if you do not come back in a week, I shall surely die," said the beast. The father was so happy to have Beauty at home that he recovered in a few days. The sister urged her to stay and help them with the housework. 1 week has passed, then another, until one night Beauty dreamed that the beast had died. She awoke and burst into tears. Hurriedly, she packed her things, kissed her father goodbye, and with the help of the ring was soon back at the castle. Beauty searched the house but could not find the beast. Frantic, she ran into the garden. There he was, lying on the grass, nearly dead. When he saw her, he roused himself and told her that he could not live without her, that he had starved himself while she was gone. "You must not die," she told him. "If I mean that much to you, I will stay and love you and marry you. You are kind and gentle, and that is more important than a handsome face." As she spoke, a miracle happened. The face of the beast began to change. Even as she looked at him, he was changed into a handsome prince. Beauty could hardly believe her ears. He kissed her and told her that a wicked witch had cast a spell over him years before, changing him into an ugly beast until a young girl would promise to marry him. And there was great joy in the land when Beauty and the prince were married. The beast asked her father to come and live with them, and she forgave her sisters. They in time learned to be kind and gentle like Beauty, and they all lived happily ever for the rest of their lives. So I hope you enjoyed this classic tale, children, and I wish you a good night and sweet dreams.